Greetings, Tor Space fans. This is Kazzerith of Tempest, and this is my pro guide to weekly space missions. In this short video, we will cover the prep and skills that you should be utilizing to begin mastering these weekly space missions so that you may easily and efficiently clear any and all space missions every time with all bonuses. This video will acquaint newcomers as well as veterans with some advanced tips and strategies that can generally be used in all space missions to improve your space combat performance. First and foremost, let's get the most simple part out of the way, and that is ship gearing. You must have a full set of Tier 7 space gear as well as a proton launcher. Tier 6 gear just will not cut it if you wish to complete any and all space missions first time every time with all bonuses. There are a few ways of obtaining this gear, such as fleet comms, basic comms, as well as just purchasing them from the GTN or with cartel coins from the cartel market. All parts other than the proton launcher are BOE, so they can be transferred from one character to another, but the launcher itself, of course, is BOP, therefore it must be purchased with 50 fleet comms from the character you are gearing for space. I recommend purchasing as many parts for basic and fleet comms as you can to minimize the amount of credits or cartel coins that you will need to finish your Tier 7 loadout. Moving on to part 2 of this guide, we're now going to cover the abilities and cooldowns granted to your ship from your loadout. Firstly, we'll cover the power converter, which has 2 settings. First is power to blasters, which will be your first hotkey slot while in flight. This ability reroutes energy from shield regeneration to boost blaster damage. With this ability active, your shields will regenerate at half the normal rate and increase blaster fire by 50%. That is not to say that your current shield level will degrade, or that the shields will absorb any less damage. They will just regenerate slower. The other ability gained from Power Converter is Power to Shields, which will be your second hotkey slot while in flight. This ability reroutes a significant portion of your blaster damage to increased shield regeneration, making blasters do much less damage, but making your shields regenerate much faster. The next ability granted from your loadout is from the Jammer, and will be located in your third hotkey slot while in flight. This ability will jam all targets from locking onto you for 10 seconds, and has a 2-minute and 10-second cooldown. Any shots taken at you before or as you activate this ability will still be incoming, but no more shots for that 10-second duration will be accurate enough to hit you. For instance, while kiting through the entry of the minefield in Che Raba, and you're waiting for that shuttle to come into range to fire on it, obviously you will have power to shields active, and will be dodging around to avoid the fire from the minefield. Once you're about 1 to 2 seconds away from the shuttle coming into view, you will activate the jammer, and continue to dodge for that 1 or 2 seconds to make sure all shots fired at you before activating the jammer have passed. Then you will have 8 to 10 solid seconds of unmolested fire time on the shuttle and the frigate. And the final ability gained from your loadout is from the EMP emitter, and will be located in your 4th hotkey slot while in flight. This ability emits a rather large EMP blast that will destroy any weaker fighters, as well as all turrets on capital ships, frigates, space stations, and mines. It will also remove all shielding and do significant damage to heavy fighters such as bombers, mercenary ships, Jedi ships, and corvettes and the like. This will not interfere with the shielding, however, on bridges or shield generators on capital ships or frigates, nor will it affect the shield on the comm antenna on space stations. This ability does have a 3-minute and 30-second cooldown, so obviously you will want to use these abilities strategically, allowing it to affect as many targets as possible. Also keep in mind that with the length of most of these space missions, many of them will allow multiple uses of these cooldowns per run. In this segment, we'll be covering avoidance or dodging. In this rail system style space combat, dodging is more preemptive than reactive. It's like this. Let's say you know a ship is coming into range from the bottom left of the screen and will now start firing at you. You would move to the top right of the screen, and you will see those initial shots pass through the area you were just at, then start to track up and right toward you. Once they're near, you will then move to the top middle of your screen and they will change track towards you again. Continue in this method until you take hits or you notice a few shots going in front of you. This is when I reverse track and break through the stream I was previously kiting, forcing the targets to start their track over again in an opposite direction, thereby buying your shields a few precious seconds to recharge. Remember, dodging isn't really dodging. Dodging is basically kiting a stream of fire around the screen, and when it gets to you or moves ahead of you, reverse directions and break through the stream to reset the enemy's fire track. In this segment, we'll be covering just a few of the offensive strategies and tricks I use to make completing these missions much easier. Full strategies for each mission will be included in the mission-specific guides. First, we'll start with frigates, the non-EMP strategy. I will initially get a good burst of laser fire at the areas near the shield generators so as to clear the turrets out of the way, and I won't waste missiles on them. I'll then pop 2 missiles into each shield generator, then pick off the remaining turrets, the engines, and the satellite dish on top with blasters. For the EMP strategy, I will use that only in situations where multiple frigates are near each other, or a combination of frigates and other objectives. In that case, I will pop the EMP burst, then just pick off the 2 engines and satellite dish on top with blasters. You can take down multiple frigates quite quickly with this strategy, and you will find several areas where this works quite nicely in multiple different space missions. Next, let's cover weak fighters. Most of the weekly space missions have a bonus for destroying a very large amount of fighters, and usually comes with 1 or more areas in the mission where all you will face for long periods are these weak fighters. For all of these areas, I leave power converters set for power to shields, as even with the weakened damage to blasters in that mode, a very small burst of a second or less will still take out each fighter. And anytime you're not firing, your shields will regenerate at an increased rate without having to change your converter settings. And finally, I'd like to cover blind firing through the environment. I know it seems a bit simplistic or even obvious, but many people do not take advantage of the ability to shoot through asteroids or even large ships and installations to hit the targets on the other side. As you complete these missions repeatedly, you will come to know when and where certain targets will be before they actually come into line of sight. For example, when you're coming up on the cluster of fighters in Duma Strike, about 1 minute and 30 seconds into the mission. They come after a big cluster of asteroids, and you can see some of them, but most of them are behind an asteroid, and you know they're there. Simply range your mouse around that asteroid in the area you think the ships are, and when your cursor reticle turns red, you are locked on a target and can now hit them through the asteroid, obtaining solid hits before coming into their line of sight. Even taking a smack from an asteroid to lessen the ships in a large wave will do less damage to your shields than the combined blast of a full wave of ships when you come around that asteroid. And that covers all the basic knowledge you will need to begin mastering these space missions. Make sure to check out my mission-specific guides as they become available, as in these guides I will cover the specific ways in which I tackle each bonus objective and the ways in which I utilize all these abilities, cooldowns, and strategies. Until then, thank you for watching this guide, and good luck on your space adventures.